Alright, let's take a deep dive, a real nostalgic journey back to a decade of big hair, neon colors, and some of the most creative toys ever to hit the shelves. Today, we're unboxing memories, exploring the forgotten titans of the 1980s toy aisle. These are the toys that might have gotten lost in the shadow of He-Man and G.I. Joe, but for those of us who had them, they were legendary. Let's get started. First up, Starriors. Launched in 1984 by Tummy, these were not just action figures. They were a modular wind-up robotic battle system. The backstory was pure 80s sci-fi gold. A solar-powered human colony on a distant star system has to create self-aware robots called Starriors to protect them from dangerous mutants. The toy line was divided into two factions, the heroic protectors and the evil destructors. What made them so cool was the grip system. You could pop off their arms and legs and swap them around. But the real magic was the wind-up mechanism. You'd crank a key and these little robots would either walk, roll on wheels, or have their weapons spin. The main hero, Slaughter Steelgrave, and the villain, Waster, were iconic. The line also had these awesome bases like the Armored Battle Station. They were like the weird mechanical cousins of Transformers and, honestly, totally underrated. They had a short-lived comic series by Marvel too, which really fleshed out their universe. Next, let's talk about MUSELE figures. The name stands for millions of unusual small creatures lurking everywhere, and they certainly lived up to it. These tiny, unpainted pink plastic figures took playgrounds by storm in the mid-80s. They were originally from a Japanese franchise called Kinnikuman, which was all about intergalactic wrestling. But here in the States, Mattel just dropped them on us with almost no context. We didn't know their names or their stories, but it didn't matter. There were hundreds of different characters, from the main hero Muscle Man to bizarre creations like a walking hand or a giant teapot. They came in trash cans, multi-packs, and even a wrestling ring playset. The real hunt was for the rare figures and different color variations. Finding a non-pink MUSELE figure was like finding a buried treasure. They were pure, simple, collectible fun. Now, let's get gross with Mad Balls. These things were the epitome of 80s gross-out humor. They were just foam or rubber balls sculpted to look like hideous, disgusting monster heads with names like Screamin' Mimi, Slobulus, and Hornhead. The detail was amazing. They had bulging veins, dripping slime, and horrifying eyeballs. Amtoy, the company behind them, knew exactly what kids wanted. You could throw them, squish them. Or, let's be real, you weaponized them against your siblings. They were so popular they spawned a whole franchise with comic books, a couple of direct-to-video cartoons, and even head-popping action figures where you could launch their heads off. They were delightfully disgusting and a true icon of the era. And speaking of creepy, let's talk about the Boglins. These hand puppets were pure nightmare fuel in the best way possible. Released by Mattel in 1987, Boglins were rubbery, goblin-like creatures that came in a plastic cage that looked like a shipping crate. You'd stick your hand inside, and through a series of internal levers, you could make their eyes move and blink. They felt alive. The rubbery texture, the realistic eye movement, the monstrous designs, it was creepy perfection. There were the main Boglins like Dwerk and Vlob, and then smaller ones called Small Boglins. Your mom probably hated finding one peeking out from under your bed, but that was half the fun. Let's shift gears to Battle Beasts. These were tiny, 1-inch tall animal warriors clad in futuristic armor. What made them revolutionary was the heat-sensitive sticker on their chests. You'd rub the sticker, and it would reveal their faction symbol: fire, wood, or water. It was a built-in game of rock, paper, scissors. Fire beats wood, wood beats water, and water beats fire. It was genius. The level of detail on these tiny figures was incredible, from a lion with a sword to a shark with a battle axe. Collecting them and staging massive lunchroom battles was a core part of being a kid in 1987. The line later evolved into Laser Beasts, but the original three factions are what we all remember. Next, a true space western hero, Bravestar. This was a line that deserved so much more love. The cartoon was amazing, set on the planet of New Texas, and Bravestar was a Native American marshal with spirit animal powers. He could call upon the strength of the bear, the speed of the puma, the eyes of the hawk, and the ears of the wolf. The action figure was huge, one of the largest of the era. and he came with his laser blasting rifle and a bag of Carium nuggets. But the real showstopper was his horse. 30, a cybernetic equine who could stand on 2 legs and blast away with his own giant blunderbuss, which he lovingly called Sarah Jane. The concept was just so cool, a sci-fi western was truly ahead of its time. Now remember Supernaturals? These figures felt like pure magic. They were ghost warriors who used the power of holograms. Released by Tonka in 1986, each figure was a skeleton or monster with a special 3D hologram embedded in its chest and on its shield. As you move the figure in the light, the hologram would shift and shimmer, making it look like a ghost was trapped inside. There were the heroic ghostlings and the evil specters. The leader of the good guys, Lionheart, had a hologram of a heroic warrior, while the bad guy's skull had a terrifying glowing skeleton. If you owned one, you can still remember tilting it back and forth, mesmerized by that hologram. And finally, a true icon of 80s comfort and coolness, My Pet Monster. This guy was everywhere. A huge plush doll with blue fur, a goofy-toothed grin, big yellow eyes, and, most importantly, a pair of bright orange, breakable plastic handcuffs. The idea was that he was a monster you could tame and befriend. He was soft enough to be a stuffed animal, but cool enough to be an action figure companion. Every kid wanted one, and if you had him sitting on your bed, you were the coolest kid on the block. He even had his own cartoon and a live-action movie. My Pet Monster wasn't just a toy. He was a friend.